Story 1. I caught my wife cheating, and she left our son when I filed for custody. Her parents threatened me, but the judge's decision left them speechless. I, 34, have been married to Elena, 32, for 8 years. We have a 6-year-old son, Ethan. Our story began in college where we met during a psychology class. I was immediately drawn to Elena's vibrant personality and infectious laugh. We started as study partners, but it quickly blossomed into something more. After graduation, we both landed jobs in the same city. I joined a marketing firm, while Elena pursued her passion for graphic design. We moved in together, sharing a tiny apartment that barely fit our combined belongings. Those early years were filled with late-night takeout dinners, weekend adventures exploring our new city, and dreams of building a life together. 2 years later, we tied the knot in a small, intimate ceremony. Our families were thrilled, especially my mom, who had been hinting about grandchildren since our second date. Elena and I were in no rush, though. We wanted to enjoy our time as newlyweds and establish our careers before starting a family. 3 years into our marriage, we felt ready to take the plunge into parenthood when Elena told me she was pregnant. I was over the moon. We spent months preparing for our little one's arrival, turning our spare room into a nursery and arguing good-naturedly over baby names. When Ethan was born, it was the happiest day of my life. Elena took a year off work to stay home with Ethan. I supported her decision, picking up extra projects at work to make up for the loss of income. It was a challenging year, with sleepless nights and countless diaper changes. But seeing Ethan's first smile and hearing his first laugh made it all worthwhile. As Ethan grew older, Elena started feeling restless. She missed her work and the creative outlet it provided. We had long discussions about her returning to her job. I encouraged her, assuring her that we'd figure out childcare together. We eventually hired a nanny, a kind older woman named Martha, who quickly became like family. At first, things seemed perfect. Elena was happier having her career back, and I was glad to see her fulfilled. Ethan was thriving under Martha's care, and we still had plenty of family time in the evenings and on weekends. We'd have picnics in the park, movie nights with homemade popcorn, and Sunday morning pancake breakfasts. But slowly, I started noticing changes in Elena's behavior. She'd come home late, citing work emergencies. She'd be on her phone constantly, even during our family dinners. When I tried to talk to her about it, she'd brush it off, saying I was being paranoid. I tried to believe her, remembering how passionate she used to be about her work. As months went by, Elena became more distant. She'd skip family dinners, claiming she had to work late. On weekends, she'd make plans with her work friends instead of spending time with us. I found myself alone with Ethan more often, trying to explain to him why mommy couldn't make it to his t-ball game or why she missed his school play. I tried to be understanding, thinking maybe she was just going through a phase or struggling with the work-life balance. I suggested we take a family vacation, hoping it would help us reconnect. Elena agreed, and for a week, things felt like they used to. We built sandcastles with Ethan, went on hikes, and stayed up late talking like we did when we first started dating. I thought maybe this was the turning point we needed, but as soon as we got back home, Elena fell back into her old patterns. She was distant, distracted, and barely present, even when she was physically there. I felt like I was losing her, and I didn't know how to bring her back. One day, I came home early from work to surprise Elena and Ethan. As I walked in, I heard Elena on the phone in our bedroom. She was laughing and talking in a way I hadn't heard in months. Curious, I stood outside the door and listened. What I heard shattered my world. Elena was talking to someone named Alex, and it was clear from their conversation that they were more than just friends. I confronted Elena that night after Ethan went to bed. At first, she denied everything, but when I told her what I'd overheard, she broke down. She admitted to having an affair with her coworker, Alex, for the past 6 months. I was devastated. I asked her why, and she said she felt trapped in our marriage and motherhood. She said Alex made her feel young and free again. I was hurt and angry, but I wanted to try and work things out for Ethan's sake. I suggested marriage counseling, but Elena refused. She said she wasn't in love with me anymore and wanted a divorce. I was heartbroken, but I agreed. We decided to tell Ethan together and try to make the transition as smooth as possible for him. Telling Ethan was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. His little face crumpled in confusion and sadness as we explained that Mommy and Daddy wouldn't be living together anymore. We assured him that we both loved him very much and that none of this was his fault, but I could see the doubt and fear in his eyes. The divorce process was difficult, but we managed to keep things civil for Ethan's sake. We agreed on joint custody, with Ethan spending weekdays with me and weekends with Elena. I made sure to never badmouth Elena in front of Ethan, even though it hurt to see him sad and confused about why Mommy and Daddy didn't live together anymore. I threw myself into being the best dad I could be. I learned to cook Ethan's favorite meals, helped him with his homework, and never missed a school event. We had our own little rituals. Tuesday night was board game night, Thursday was for trying new recipes together, and Saturday mornings were for cartoons and pancakes. Things were going okay for a few months. Ethan was adjusting to the new arrangement, and Elena and I were cordial during drop-offs and pickups. But then things took a turn for the worse. Last week, I got a call from Ethan's school. They said Elena hadn't picked him up, and they couldn't reach her. I left work immediately and rushed to get Ethan. He was upset and scared, saying Mommy had promised to take him for ice cream after school. I tried calling Elena, but her phone went straight to voicemail. I took Ethan home and tried to distract him with games and his favorite dinner. All the while I kept trying to reach Elena. Finally, around 9 p.m., I got a text from her. It said, "I can't do this anymore. Ethan is better off with you. I'm leaving town. Don't try to find me." I was shocked and furious. How could she abandon our son like this? I immediately called my lawyer and explained the situation. He advised me to file for emergency full custody, given Elena's abandonment. I felt terrible doing it, but I knew I had to protect Ethan. The next day, I filed the paperwork and was granted temporary full custody. Elena's parents called me furious. They said I was overreacting and that Elena was just going through a hard time. They accused me of trying to keep Ethan away from her. I explained what happened, but they didn't believe me. It's been a week now, and Elena hasn't tried to contact us. Ethan keeps asking for her, and it breaks my heart to see him so confused and hurt. I'm doing my best to keep his routine normal and shower him with love and attention. I know seeking full custody is a big step, but I feel it's necessary to protect Ethan. Elena's behavior has been erratic and irresponsible. I can't risk her disappearing again and hurting Ethan even more. But part of me feels guilty, like I'm taking Ethan away from his mother. So, Reddit, am I the a-hole for seeking full custody after my wife abandoned our son? Date 1. It's been about a month since my last post, and a lot has happened. First, I want to thank everyone for their supportive comments and advice. It really helped me navigate this difficult situation. A week after I filed for full custody, Elena suddenly reappeared. She showed up at my doorstep, crying and apologizing. She said she had gone to stay with a friend in another state because she felt overwhelmed and needed time to think. I was angry but relieved that she was okay. Elena begged to see Ethan, but I was hesitant. I didn't want to confuse him more or risk her disappearing again. After talking with my lawyer, we agreed to supervise visits at a neutral location. The first visit was hard. Ethan was excited to see Elena but also wary. He clung to me and kept asking if Mommy was going to leave again. Elena cried and promised she wouldn't, but I could see the doubt in Ethan's eyes. It broke my heart to see my usually bubbly, confident son so unsure and scared. Over the next few weeks, we continued with supervised visits. Elena seemed to be trying hard to reconnect with Ethan. She'd bring his favorite snacks and toys and really engage with him during their time together. But I noticed she'd get frustrated when Ethan would turn to me for comfort or reassurance. During this time, I learned more about what had been going on with Elena. Apparently, her affair with Alex had ended badly. He had promised to leave his wife for her, but then backed out at the last minute. Elena said she felt used and humiliated, and it triggered a sort of breakdown. She admitted to drinking heavily and even experimenting with drugs to numb the pain. This revelation brought back memories of Elena's family history that I had almost forgotten. Her father had struggled with alcoholism when she was young, and it had caused a lot of trauma in their family. Elena had always been adamant about not falling into the same patterns, which made her recent behavior even more shocking. While I sympathized with her pain, I was angry that she'd put her own feelings above our son's well-being. I told her she needed to get help if she wanted to be part of Ethan's life. To my surprise, she agreed. She started seeing a therapist and joined a support group for parents dealing with depression and addiction. Meanwhile, the custody case was moving forward. My lawyer advised me to continue pursuing full custody, given Elena's recent behavior and mental health issues. Elena's lawyer argued that she was getting help and deserved another chance. The judge ordered a full evaluation of both of us and our home environments. The evaluation process was intense. Social workers interviewed us separately and together. They observed us with Ethan and inspected our homes. They talked to Ethan's teachers, our families, and even our neighbors. It was exhausting and felt invasive, but I knew it was necessary to ensure Ethan's best interests were protected. Throughout all of this, I've been trying to keep things as normal as possible for Ethan. We stick to our routines, and I make sure to give him extra love and attention. He's been seeing a child therapist to help him process everything, and I've noticed small improvements. He's less anxious and is starting to trust that I won't leave him. One particularly tough moment came when Ethan had a meltdown after one of Elena's visits. He was confused about why he couldn't go home with Mommy and asked if it was because he had been bad. It took hours of reassurance and cuddles to calm him down. These moments make me question if I'm doing the right thing, but then I remember Elena's abandonment, and I know I have to stay strong for Ethan. Elena's parents are still giving me a hard time. They think I'm being too harsh and should give Elena another chance. They've even threatened to seek grandparents' rights if I get full custody. It's frustrating because they don't seem to understand the gravity of Elena's actions and the impact on Ethan. Their attitude reminds me of how they often enabled Elena's father's behavior when she was growing up. I worry that they might do the same with Elena, potentially putting Ethan at risk. It's a delicate situation, as I want Ethan to have a relationship with his grandparents, but I also need to protect him. As for me, I'm hanging in there. It's been tough balancing work, single parenting, and the legal battle. My boss has been understanding, allowing me to work flexible hours and sometimes from home. My parents have been a huge help, often coming over to watch Ethan when I have important meetings or court appearances. I've also found unexpected support in my neighbor, Sarah. She's a single mom herself and has been through a similar situation. She's become a good friend, offering advice and sometimes just a sympathetic ear when I need to vent. Her daughter is a year older than Ethan, and they've become good friends, which has been great for both kids. Seeing Ethan smile or hearing his laugh makes all the struggle worthwhile. The other day, he drew a picture of us together, holding hands with a big sun shining above. He proudly declared it was his happy family picture. It made me tear up, realizing that despite everything, Ethan feels loved and secure with me. I know I'm doing the right thing by fighting for him, even if it's hard. The custody hearing is set for next month. I'm nervous but hopeful. My lawyer says we have a strong case, but nothing is certain in family court. All I can do is continue to be the best father I can be and hope the judge sees that Ethan is better off with me. I'll update again after the hearing. Thanks again for all your support, Reddit. It means more than you know. Update 2. Hey everyone. I'm back with another update. It's been 2 months since my last post, and the custody hearing has finally happened. I want to thank you all again for your continued support and advice. It's been a roller coaster, but I'm hanging in there. The day of the hearing was intense. Elena showed up with her parents and a new lawyer. They tried to paint me as controlling and manipulative, claiming I was using the custody battle to punish Elena for the affair. It was hard to sit there and listen to their lies, but my lawyer advised me to stay calm and let the evidence speak for itself. When it was our turn, my lawyer presented a strong case. We had documentation of Elena's abandonment, reports from the social workers and Ethan's therapist, and even testimony from Ethan's teachers about how he'd been struggling with anxiety since Elena left. The judge seemed to pay close attention to everything. One of the most powerful moments came when Martha, our former nanny, testified. She spoke about the changes she had observed in Elena's behavior in the months leading up to our separation and how it had affected Ethan. Her testimony painted a clear picture of Elena's gradual withdrawal from our family life. The most difficult part was when they brought Ethan in to speak with the judge privately. I hated the idea of him being put in that position, but the judge insisted it was necessary. Ethan was in there for what felt like hours, but was probably only about 30 minutes. When he came out, he ran straight to me and hugged me tight. It took everything in me not to break down right there in the courtroom. After 2 long days of testimonies and arguments, the judge finally made her decision. She granted me full custody of Ethan. Elena was given supervised visitation rights, with the possibility of reevaluation in 6 months if she could prove she was stable and committed to being in Ethan's life. I felt a mix of relief and sadness when I heard the verdict. Relief that Ethan would be safe with me, but sadness for what our family had become. Elena broke down in tears, and her parents glared at me like I was the villain in all this. The weeks following the hearing have been challenging. Elena's visitations have been inconsistent. Sometimes she shows up full of energy and enthusiasm. Other times she's distant and barely engages with Ethan. It's confusing for him, and I can see the toll it's taking. Ethan's been having nightmares again. He wakes up crying, asking why mommy doesn't love him anymore. It brings back memories of my own childhood. My parents divorced when I was young, and I remember feeling that same confusion and abandonment. I'm determined to do better for Ethan, to make sure he always feels loved and secure. On a positive note, Ethan's doing better in school. His teachers say he seems more focused and less anxious. He's made a couple of new friends, which I'm thrilled about. I've been trying to arrange play dates and get him involved in after-school activities to keep him busy and happy. I've also been working on creating new traditions for us. Every Friday night is now adventure night, where we try something new together, whether it's cooking a new recipe, trying a new board game, or exploring a new park in our area. It gives us both something to look forward to at the end of the week. Elena's parents have made good on their threat and filed for grandparents' rights. Feels like I can't catch a break. My lawyer says their case isn't strong, but it's still another battle I have to fight. I just want to focus on helping Ethan heal and move forward. As for me, I'm taking it one day at a time. Some days are harder than others. There are moments when I miss the family we used to be, but then I remember the pain Elena caused, and I know I'm doing the right thing. I've started going to a support group for single dads, which has been helpful. It's good to talk to others who understand what I'm going through. My neighbor, Sarah, has been a godsend through all of this. She's always willing to lend an ear or watch Ethan if I need a break. There's been a growing connection between us, but I'm hesitant to explore it. My focus right now needs to be on Ethan and our stability. I'm not sure what the future holds, but I know that as long as I have Ethan, I can face anything. He's my world, and seeing him smile or hearing him laugh makes all the struggle worthwhile. I'll keep fighting to give him the stable, loving home he deserves. I'll update again if anything significant happens. Thanks for listening, Reddit. Your support means everything. Update 3. Hey Reddit, it's been about 6 months since my last update, and I wanted to share some developments in our situation. First, the good news. Ethan is doing much better. He's thriving in school, has made more friends, and his nightmares have become less frequent. The child therapist says he's showing great progress in processing his emotions and building resilience. Seeing him laugh and play without that constant worry in his eyes is the best feeling in the world. We've settled into a good routine now. Mornings are busy with getting ready for school and work, but we always make time for a quick game of catch or a silly dance-off before heading out. Our Friday adventure nights have become a highlight for both of us. Last week, we tried rock climbing at an indoor gym, and Ethan loved it so much that we've signed up for regular classes now. For the more complicated stuff, Elena's visitations have become more regular over the past few months. She seems to be sticking to her therapy and has been sober for 4 months now. During her last few visits, I've noticed Ethan is more relaxed around her. He even asked if he could spend more time with her. This request brought up a lot of conflicting emotions for me. On one hand, I'm glad Ethan feels comfortable enough to want more time with Elena. On the other, I'm terrified of him getting hurt again if she relapses or disappears. I've been talking to my therapist about how to navigate this, trying to balance Ethan's desires with my need to protect him. After a lot of thought and discussions with Ethan's therapist, I agreed to gradually increase Elena's visitation time. We started with longer supervised visits, then moved to short unsupervised visits. It's been nerve-wracking for me, but Ethan seems happier. Elena and I had a long talk last week. She apologized again for everything she put us through and said she's committed to being a better mother. She asked if we could revisit the custody arrangement. I told her I appreciate her efforts, but I'm not ready to make any major changes yet. Ethan's stability and well-being come first, and I need to see long-term consistency from her. On the legal front, Elena's parents dropped their grandparents' rights case. They finally realized it was causing more harm than good. They've been making efforts to repair their relationship with me, which I cautiously appreciate. They've even started coming to Ethan's soccer games, which he loves. As for me, I'm doing okay. The single dad support group has been a lifeline. I've made some good friends there who understand what I'm going through. One of the dads even set me up on a date recently. It was nice, but I realized I'm not quite ready for that yet. My focus is still on Ethan and healing our little family. Sarah, my neighbor, continues to be a great friend and support. We've had a few moments where it felt like things might develop into something more, but we've both agreed to take things slow. Ethan adores her and her daughter, and I'm grateful for the positive female presence in his life. Work has been challenging but rewarding. I recently got a promotion which has helped ease some of the financial stress of single parenthood. It means longer hours sometimes, but I'm lucky to have a flexible schedule that allows me to be there for Ethan's important moments. Looking back on this journey, I can see how far we've come. There were times when I thought I couldn't handle it all, but Ethan's resilience and love kept me going. I'm proud of the stability and love I've been able to provide for him. I don't know what the future holds for us. Elena seems to be on a better path, but only time will tell if it lasts. For now, I'm cautiously optimistic. My priority remains Ethan's happiness and well-being. Whatever happens, I know we'll face it together. Thanks again for all your support, Reddit. Your advice and encouragement have been invaluable throughout this journey. I'll update again if there are any major changes. Until then, wish us luck. Now on to the next story. Story 2. Before we start, if you're enjoying this video so far, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Now let's continue. Daughter abandoned me for her rich stepdad when she was 12, asking me to give up my parental rights. Now she's 22, broke, and wants me back after her mom died and stepdad kicked her out. My ex-wife, then 41, and I, then 45, got separated 12 years ago. She found solace in a rich man's pants. Sorry, this couldn't be said in any better way. She was a stay-at-home wife/mom. She never was interested in working or earning money. She wanted to stay at home and take care of the house and our daughter after she was born. Though my finances were tight, I never forced her to work. I was working 2 jobs and was earning okayish to put a decent meal on the table. However, my earnings could not cover the luxurious lifestyle that she wanted. I won't get into the details about my relationship with my ex. This post is about Laura. Laura details about my ex-wife I might cover in some other post. When Laura was 10, my ex-wife confessed that she had been sleeping with some rich dude. She moved out on the same day, and we filed for divorce. We became the co-parents for Laura. Since I had 2 jobs and she had none, we agreed that I would be getting Laura for weekends. I shared a good bond with Laura. We managed some great adventure trips together. Though the divorce was hurting, spending time with her made me feel so much better. As time went on, I realized Laura was stalling the meeting earlier every Friday. I would look forward to her email with details of what activities she wanted us to be doing the following weekend. The content of the mail gradually changed to, "Sorry, I can't make it this weekend. We are going out skiing or other fancy sports/SL trips with stepdad." Initially, I let this slide, thinking that he was trying to keep Laura happy and I shouldn't be jealous of that. Eventually, I realized that Laura didn't want to meet me that often. Our weekly meetings got twice a month, and then it became monthly once, and then just one day of the weekend. I noticed she wasn't enjoying our time together like she used to do it before. When it became evident that she was intentionally trying to ignore me, I confronted her. I tried to make her understand that I was trying the best I could do to keep her happy, I was even overstretching myself. Even after that, she would continue to skip our weekend time, but now she started lying to me. Now she won't tell me the truth that she was going out with her stepdad, but she would make an excuse that she has school homework or projects that need to be completed on the weekends. Sometimes it sounded genuine, but most of the time it was all made up. Whatever little time we spent together, she would always rant about how going out with her stepdad is so much better because he doesn't look at the price table every time before ordering something. Even when I take her on trips, she would always compare how it was so much fun going out with her stepdad. She started whining about every minor inconvenience that hardly mattered to her earlier, but she never stopped bragging about the new PS or stepdad gifted or the new bike her mom brought. I thought maybe she was too young to understand that showering materialistic stuff is not love. The situation got worse when she ghosted me for over 3 months, even after multiple calls and texts. I called up my lawyer and told him the entire stuff. He told me I had the option to file against my wife for alienating Laura, but Laura was 12 then, and she might confess in the court that she didn't want to spend time with me anymore. He said it could get worse. Laura can say that she wanted more money to live the life of her standard, and that meant increasing the child support. Yes, I was paying the child support despite her rich stepdad doing so much fun stuff for her. I backed off from the idea of suing my ex over custody. There was no point. My lawyer suggested we can have a formal out-of-court conversation with them. It would give me the clarity of what they wanted. I agreed to follow this route. My lawyer sent them a notice with detailed allegations. He mentioned we wanted to have an out-of-court settlement. I had an eerie feeling that my ex-wife might not agree to talks because she had enough money and time to burn in a court case. To my surprise, she agreed to address and close this issue in front of the attorney. In that meeting, ex-wife's husband was also present, along with ex-wife and Laura. They both said that they were out of this. They had no business to do. If Laura is ghosting me, they confessed they had no role to play in this. They stepped aside and let Laura talk for herself. Laura then dropped the deadliest bombshell one could ever experience in life. She said she wanted me to give up my parental rights. That was 10 years ago, but the memory of that harrowing moment is crystal clear to me. I was dead silent for I don't know how long. My lawyer nudged me for a reaction. I kept staring at everyone. What should I say? I looked at ex-wife, and she curled her lips and smiled as if she knew what was coming. I held Lara's hand and said, "Baby, I hope you know what you're saying. Giving up on my parental rights would mean you cannot call me dad. You would no longer be my daughter." She shrugged off my hand, looked dead into my eyes, and said, "Yeah, that's what I want." I was flabbergasted. I ran short of words to make her understand the implications of her decision. My lawyer tried to make her understand what would happen if I disown her, like property matter and stuff, but she didn't change her mind. She turned to her stepfather and asked, "Once he disowns me, you'll be able to adopt me as your daughter, right?" He nodded with wide eyes. "Surely, darling." Words cannot describe the bitterness I felt at that moment. My world shattered, to say the least. I lost my purpose in life after getting cheated by my wife of 15 years. The only sunshine in my life was Laura. She was the only one I was looking up to after my hectic 2 jobs. I didn't date any woman even after 2 years of my divorce. Neither I had the time nor I wanted to. I wanted to give my undivided love and attention to Laura. This is what I got in return. She wanted to get rid of me. My condition was so pathetic that I wasn't able to think straight. My lawyer borrowed some time to get back to them. I am sure my ex and her husband would have a satisfied sleep that night after seeing me in such a vulnerable state. My lawyer drove me home after he left. I held myself like a baby for hours in my empty house. All kinds of emotions were pouring out from my heart. I called my parents and told them about Lara's demand. They were absolutely petrified. They rushed to console me. My parents, particularly my mom, were very close to Lara. She took care of her for more than a year. My wife had to undergo surgery, and she was put on bed rest for a year. During that period, my mom took care of both of them, Lara and ex-wife. Both mom gave it a shot, but Lara was adamant that I give away my parental rights. She desperately wanted to be his stepdad's daughter. He had told her he could not adopt her until I gave up on the parental rights. I asked my lawyer what options I had. He said we could sue them for manipulating Lara. Since Lara was 12, it would be hard to prove she was being manipulated. Besides, they had money to fight a long court case, but I didn't. Plus, what's the point of fighting? The one I am fighting for is already sold on their side. It's a lost battle. I was left with no choice other than to swallow the bitter pill and give up on my fatherly rights. For the next 1 week, I was curled up inside my bed. I left my second job. Who do I earn for now? I lost all purpose to wake up in the morning and go to work. I took so many leaves in my full-time job and faltered so much that I was eventually fired. I moved to a different town, slept at a subway station, and wandered like a maniac for days. Gradually, I came out of this, found a new job, hit a gym, and enrolled in therapy. It took me a good 2 years to come out of it. I didn't ride on the dating wagon, but I took many solo trekking trips as a healing therapy. On one of those trips, I met my current wife, Brianna. She had a daughter, Emma, who was 5 back then. After dating for a while, we have moved in together. When Brianna introduced me to Emma for the first time, I broke down. She reminded me of Lara. I desperately wanted Emma to call me Dad, but I backed off. I didn't want to hurt myself again. I maintained a very healthy yet distant relationship with Emma. It came to a full circle when, on her 12th birthday, Emma asked me to adopt her. I was so overwhelmed. So now I have 2 daughters, Emma and a 3-year-old toddler, Amy, with my second wife. I think I have given enough context about my situation now. Fast forward to a week ago. I was returning from work, and I saw a familiar face smiling at me. As I came closer, I realized it was none other than Lara. I got shivers as if I saw a ghost. She got taller, leaner, and way prettier, but it wasn't difficult for me to recognize her. She ran towards me and hugged me, saying, "Dad, I'm your daughter Laura. Finally, I found you." I looked at her with dead eyes and said, "I have 2 daughters, but it's not you." Before she said anything, I started walking away. She followed me, but I looked back and said, "Quit following me, else I'll report you." I didn't see her after that. The next day, she showed up at my house. As soon as I opened the door, she said, "I am sorry. I am sorry. I know you are mad at me, but please hear me out. Mom's dead, and stepdad has brought his mistress home. He doesn't love me the way he used to when Mom was alive. He has cut me off financially and says I need to earn my own money now. When I pestered, he said he's going to disown me." I heard her rant and then replied with a straight face, "So what?" She started pleading with me for another chance. I screamed at her to get out and slammed the door in her face. She then went to my mom and apologized to her. She was able to manipulate Mom with her tears, and now Mom wants me to reconcile with Lara for the sake of the family. The pain she has inflicted upon me is not letting me reconcile with her. Am I an a-hole? Date 1. Addressing the comments, some of you asked about my ex-wife. If she was a gold digger, to judge whether she was the one who manipulated Lara or if it was something to do with me. So here's a brief context about my ex-wife. We dated for 2 years before getting married. While we were dating, she was waiting tables at a local bar. I was a regular there, and that's how we started seeing each other. She was living with her coworker. I had one full-time job and was living in a studio apartment. That's when I got another job, saved up more, and got a house to accommodate her. We got married and she left her job. For the first 6 to 7 years of marriage, she was happy and content with my earnings, but then she started whining about how her friends got so much better earning husbands than her. She would even say to my face that she should have waited for some more time to find a richer husband than settling with me. It was offensive and we would get into a fighting match. Of course, I cannot stand there and take all the cat she would throw at me. Eventually, our relationship got cold and distant, and one fine day, she dropped the bombshell that she had been sleeping with a rich man and would be moving out to live with him. I didn't beg her to stay, but I cautioned her that these rich men take women like hers to be toys. They play and then get rid of them when they are done with it. She said this time she didn't rush into things. She had been seeing the guy for 2 years, and now she trusts him enough to move in with him. After that, I had nothing to say. I remained quiet and sucked it up. Some of you said that Lara was not an adult. She was 12 when she asked me to disown her, so maybe I should have fought for her. And since I had my own reasons to not fight for her, I shouldn't be so harsh on her now. I should accept her. In my defense, I would say you guys are right in saying she was a minor when all these happened. I am not denying that she was not being emotionally manipulated. She was also financially manipulated. However, when she turned 18 or became an adult, she could have contacted me, but she didn't. She is now 22. And she has contacted me now only because her stepdad has cut her off financially. There was one question from someone asking how did my ex-wife die? Well, I didn't ask Laura about this, but she had told my mom that ex died of a terminal illness. Laura had a liver problem. She even underwent surgery for that when Laura was an infant. Anyways, now the thing is, Laura is now emotionally manipulating my mom to help her reconcile with me. Instead of discussing it over a call, I visited mom. I got to know that Laura has fed her sob stories to mom to win her back. She has said that she was homeless and had no job or any money, and that she has been living on the street since her stepdad had thrown her out. Mom insisted I meet her once. I agreed for my mom's sake. Mom called up Laura, and she showed up within an hour. I grilled her so badly that all her truths came out. It came out that her mom and stepdad had pampered her so much that she never made it to high school. She was so busy vacationing and dining with them that she forgot that education and school existed in life. I don't know what that man was thinking that he spoiled her this much. Forget about that man. God knows what her mom was smoking that she spoiled her daughter's life this way. I don't know how true this is since her mom is no longer here to validate Lara's claims that whatever she told me was all her mom's plan to humiliate me. That parental right thing and the ghosting phase before that. I asked her why would her mom do that to me. She said that since I was not earning enough, I was not able to get premium branded clothes and accessories for her. Mom that had caused many embarrassing situations for her in front of her friends. Laura told me that my ex laid this plan to embarrass and humiliate me in front of her husband. Listening to this was not at all easy. It brought back all the harrowing memories of the past that I had tried so hard to forget. I said, whatever has happened, that was past. Her mom was gone. So what is it now that she wants from me? She said she wanted me to accept her as my daughter. I asked what would change after that. She promptly replied, it means I would be your daughter, and you would have my back. I said, okay, I'll accept you as my daughter, but you don't get anything from me but love. I'm going to give my property, my insurance money, and my savings to Emma and Amy. But I'm going to love you as my eldest daughter. Will that work for you? She froze after stammering for some time. She said, yeah, we can talk about money stuff later. You are not going to make a will now, are you? I said, yes. I have already named Emma and Amy in my insurance and savings account. I have also bought a house in the new city, which I have given to my second wife, Brianna. I am not going to change it for you. If you are okay with it, then get that paper that I signed for you giving up my parental rights, and I'll ask my lawyer to make another one overturning the earlier one. She said, yeah, sure. She was silent for the rest of the time. My mom offered her dinner, but she pushed off, saying she had something to take care of. 2 weeks have passed since then, and she hasn't shown up. I pointed this out to my mom that it was all about money. Since I told her that I wouldn't be giving her any money, she backed off. What a useless piece of shit she is. Update 2. Oh, I told you it was all about money, and yes, it is. 2 weeks back, Laura showed up at my mom's place again. Mind you, this is 4 months after we had the last conversation. She looked miserable, with red puffy eyes covered in dark circles. She had rashes all over her body, maybe by consuming some allergic stuff. She was crying and pleading for help. She wanted money from mom. She said ever since her stepdad had disowned her, she had been living with her friend, and now that friend has also thrown her out. She has sold most of her stuff to buy food for these many months, but now she has no money and no stuff. Mom asked her why she didn't get a job. She said she was a school dropout and no one would give her a job. Mom said she could speak to her friend who runs a bakery and get her a cleaner's job or something. Besides, there are so many jobs that don't need a school degree. Laura remained silent to that. She just sobbed and asked Mom for some money. Mom gave her some packed food and $100. She asked her why she didn't bring that document to overturn the disownment. She said it was in her stepdad's house, and she would get it next time. She took the money and food and left. Mom didn't tell me about this visit. She thought I would get mad at her. 3 days back, Laura again showed up at Mom's place with the same sob story. Mom asked her what did she do with the money. She said she used it for food. Mom asked what about the job. She didn't give any straight answer this time. Mom didn't give her money. Mom said she didn't have the money nor any extra food. She just gave her a loaf of bread. She took it and was about to leave when Mom asked her if she had changed her mind about being my daughter. She replied, "What's the point of having him as dad when he is not going to give me any money? He has given away all his stuff to his beggar stepchildren." Mom was astonished at her words. Mom chased her out and threatened her to not show up again at her house. Mom called me immediately and told me about both of her visits. I did get mad at her for helping her the first time. I asked Mom to be cautious while answering the door at night. The way Mom described Lara's appearance, it seems she's with bad company. She can be a threat to Mom as she is living alone after Dad's demise last year. We are going to get a restraining order against her in case she comes back again and creates trouble. Today I came to Mom's place. I went out to see if I could find Lara around, but I didn't see her anywhere. I'll be living here for a week. I don't know what to do, but I do feel sad about her. If what she said about my ex was true, then my ex went too far to humiliate me, and while doing that, she ruined her own daughter's life. And if Lara is lying about it, then she's already paying the price of her evilness. By the way, someone commented in my last post that everyone has a right to make a choice for themselves, and Lara was not evil for choosing her stepdad over me, just that she was on the wrong side. I guess yes, you are right. She made a choice 10 years ago, and now she has to live by it for her whole life. Now on to the next story. Story 3. I'm refusing to talk to my father and spoiled sister who wants to walk down the aisle with me in white. So my sister and I, we were like those characters in movies who are always trying to one-up each other, except it wasn't fun. My sister always seemed to get her way because I didn't stand up for myself much, and our parents were super busy, so they didn't really notice what was going on. They thought I was okay with everything. Now picture this. There was this boy who liked me and asked me out, but I knew my sister had a crush on him, so I said no to the boy and even tried to help him get together with my sister because I thought that's what a good sister would do, right? But instead of being a little upset or thankful, my sister started telling everyone at school and our family friends some really mean and untrue things about me, saying I was trying to steal the boy she liked. Fast forward to when I was finishing high school. I got into a really nice college with a scholarship that covered half of my fees. I was so happy and shared it on Instagram, and my cousins even took me out to celebrate. My sister, still living at home and going to a local college because our parents asked her to, got super upset when she saw my posts and the dinner celebration. She cried to our dad, who always seemed to take her side, and he got mad at me for showing off and even said he might not help pay for my college. Then there's the birthday thing. My sister always got amazing gifts from our dad, like new phones or fancy jewelry, but if I got something nice from our mom or other relatives, my dad would be all grumpy about it, mumbling about me wasting money. On my 16th birthday, my mom gave me this beautiful diamond necklace with my name on it, but when I wasn't around, my sister pretended to drop it and messed it up so bad that it couldn't be fixed without paying a lot of money. Instead of fixing it, my dad made my mom sell the necklace and used the money for my sister's 17th birthday party, saying we needed the money for family reasons. And for my birthday, he said I didn't get a party because I needed to focus on my exams. A while back, I grew up and did some grown-up things, like moving out of my parents' house, getting a loan for school, and finding a job to make some money. Now I'm 28 years old, and I'm super excited because I'm going to marry my boyfriend, who's 29, in May. He's amazing and I really like him a lot. So with the wedding coming up, I thought it would be fun to go to Las Vegas with my best friends for a bachelorette party, which is like a big fun party before you get married. I was super excited about this trip, but when I told my parents, my dad said my sister had to come too because getting married is a big deal for the whole family, not just me. My sister, without even asking me, went ahead and bought her ticket to Vegas, which kind of upset me because I felt like I didn't have a choice anymore. I talked it over with my fiancé and ended up saying okay to my sister coming because she kept texting me over and over asking to join on this trip. We also planned to pick out my wedding dress and the dresses for the people standing up with me at the wedding. But while we were shopping, my sister wasn't being very nice. She kept making mean comments about how some of my friends looked and saying certain dresses wouldn't look good on them. She even picked out dresses that showed a lot of skin, which made me feel uncomfortable for my wedding. A few days after we were done dress shopping, I got a call from the store manager. She said there were 2 white dresses that needed to be fixed up for us. I was confused because I only picked out 1 dress. The manager explained that the second dress was a short white lace dress, which was definitely not the one I chose. So after finding out about the second white dress, I was totally confused. I only remembered picking 1 dress, the special one for my big day. To figure out what was going on, I decided to call my best friend, who is also my maid of honor. She's like the captain of the bridesmaids team and someone I can always count on. When I asked her about the mystery dress, she told me she saw my sister looking at white dresses in the store. That was a big hull moment for me, feeling a bit unsure about everything. I called my sister to ask if that second white dress was hers. But before we could really get into it, my dad suddenly joined our call. He dropped a huge surprise on me. He said that because my sister is getting older and still single, she should also get to wear white and walk down the aisle. He thought it would be like a dream come true for her, especially since she might not get the chance to have her own wedding in her 20s. According to him, letting her do this would show the world how close we are as sisters. Honestly, I was pretty shocked to hear my dad say all that. It felt like he was turning my wedding into something it wasn't supposed to be. So I did what anyone would do. I shared this wild story with my bridesmaids and my fiancé. They couldn't believe it either. Everyone was just as surprised and confused by my dad's idea as I was. My mom, on the other hand, has been really quiet about the whole thing. She didn't say much, but I could tell she wasn't happy with what my dad was suggesting. It was like she didn't agree with him but didn't know how to say it. Not knowing what else to do, I reached out to some of my cousins to get their take on the situation. I thought maybe they could help talk some sense into my dad. They all agreed that having my sister wear a white dress and walk down the aisle at my wedding was not a great idea. But when they tried to explain this to my dad, he didn't want to hear it. He even went as far as saying that if we didn't let my sister have her way, he wouldn't let us use our family's vacation home for the wedding. We had chosen that place because it would help us save money and make everything more special, being a place filled with family memories. So there I was, stuck in a really tough spot. My wedding plans, which were supposed to be about celebrating love and bringing people together, were suddenly turning into a big family drama. It was like my special day was being overshadowed by this unexpected twist. Now I had to figure out how to handle my dad's demands without ruining the happy vibes of my upcoming wedding. Growing up, my birthdays and special days were pretty low-key, nothing fancy. It was my sister, though, who always had the spotlight with big parties and lots of presents. Kind of felt like she was the favorite, getting all the attention and stuff. So when it came to my wedding, I wanted it to be at this special place that means a lot to me, our family vacation house. This wasn't just any house. It was my late grandmother's, and now my dad owns it. It's full of memories, and I thought it would be perfect for my big day. Plus, it would save us some money, which is always nice. But then all this drama started because of the whole dress thing with my sister, and my wedding plans began to feel less like a celebration and more like a big problem. My friends and family, being the awesome people they are, offered to chip in so we could move the wedding to a fancier place, thinking it might solve the issue. However, my mom suggested I should try to fix things with my dad and sister instead. The thing is, they're pretty upset with me. They think I'm being too self-centered, calling me an egoistic bride, which honestly hurt my feelings a lot when I heard what they were saying. I just lost it. I was so upset that I ended up shouting at my dad, telling him all the ways I felt he hadn't been there for me. It was like all my feelings just came pouring out. After that, I just couldn't deal with talking to them anymore, so I blocked them both. But then my dad's side of the family started calling me nonstop, trying to get me to calm down and talk things through. This left me wondering if I'm making too big a deal out of this. Maybe I should just swallow my pride, unblock them, and have a heart-to-heart. Try to explain why the dress thing is such a big deal to me and see if we can convince my sister to choose a different dress for the wedding. It's not just about a dress, right? It's about making sure my wedding feels like it's mine and not just another one of my sister's big moments. But maybe, just maybe, there's a way to sort this all out without anyone feeling like they lost. Update. So after all the crazy wedding drama, I decided to share everything that's been going on by sending a link to this huge family group chat. This chat isn't just my immediate family. It includes cousins, second cousins, and even those relatives you barely see but somehow are related to. Everyone read it, from close family to those distant relatives who usually just pop up during big family gatherings. The reaction was pretty surprising. My mom's side of the family totally had my back. They were sending messages of support and understanding, which felt really good. On the other hand, my dad's side went completely silent. It's like they all hit the mute button at the same time. I think they're all pretty shocked and upset about how my sister and dad have been acting. Then there's my mom. She actually moved out and went to stay with her sister, my aunt. My aunt gave her a bit of a talking to, saying she should have supported me more. It's a big deal because it shows my mom is taking a stand, which she hadn't really done before. With all that going on, I decided it was time for a tough conversation. My fiancé and I called my dad and sister to lay down the law. We told them straight up they're not invited to the wedding anymore. But it went even further than that. We explained how their actions meant they wouldn't be a part of our lives moving forward. That means they won't get to know any kids we might have or see them grow up. It was a hard thing to do, but it felt necessary. After making that big decision, I had another thing to sort out. The wedding dress drama. I called the bridal store and told the lady there about the whole mess. She was super understanding and canceled my sister's dress order without charging US. Plus, I put a secret password on my order so only I can make changes to it. It's like my wedding dress has its own little bodyguard now. With the big traditional wedding plans scrapped, we're going for something way simpler but just as special. We decided on a small courthouse wedding. It's going to be just us and a few close people. And the best part? All the money we're saving is going into planning an epic honeymoon. We're talking about traveling across Europe, seeing all sorts of amazing places. It's kind of perfect because traveling is how my fiancé and I met, and we both love exploring new places. Finally, I just want to say a huge thank you. All the advice, support, and suggestions have been incredibly helpful. It's been a wild ride, but knowing there are people out there rooting for me has made a big difference. So thanks a ton. It really means the world to me. Edit. Okay, so just when I thought things couldn't get any weirder, they totally did. Here's the scoop. My maid of honor is actually connected to this whole drama in a way I never expected. She's related to my sister's ex-boyfriend, and guess what? We all ended up grabbing lunch together this afternoon. That's when I found out something that totally blew my mind. During lunch, while we were chatting and catching up, a bombshell was dropped. It turns out this whole wearing white to someone else's wedding thing isn't new for my sister. Nope, she's pulled this stunt before. When I was away at college, there was this one time she went to a wedding as her ex-boyfriend's date, and you'll never believe what she wore. A white dress. Yes, seriously. She showed up at someone else's wedding dressed in white, trying to grab all the attention. And this ex-boyfriend? He's related to my maid of honor. So now everything is starting to make a bit more sense. But also it's just so bizarre. It doesn't seem like my sister's actions are all about making me upset or anything. Instead, it's looking more like she's got this huge need for attention, like she really wants to be the center of attention no matter where she is or whose big day it is. It's not just about me or the wedding. It's like she's got this pattern of needing to be noticed by everyone all the time. Honestly, finding this out was kind of a shock, but it also helped me understand the situation a bit better. It's not just some random thing against me. It's more about her dealing with her own issues. Still, it's a pretty wild story to add to the already crazy wedding drama saga. Edit 2. So I've noticed a bunch of people are super curious about the backstory here, and I think it's important to share to get the whole picture. When my sister and I were growing up, things were pretty tight at home. Money wasn't just tight, it was like super tight. Imagine trying to stretch a dollar bill across a whole week. Kind of tight. Now, my sister and I are pretty close in age, like the kind of close where you might end up sharing birthdays close together or getting mistaken for twins. And here's the kicker. Our parents were super young when they had us. We're talking early 20s young, so they were just figuring out life, and then boom, they had not one but two kids to look after. I've always had this feeling, kind of like a sneaky suspicion, that I was the surprise in the family. Not like a birthday surprise, but more like a whoops, guess we're having another baby surprise. My sister, on the other hand, was the kid they were planning for, the one they were totally ready to welcome with open arms. So yeah, you could say she was the planned one and I was the surprise. Fast forward to now, and we've got this whole wedding drama unfolding. My sister, who has always been treated a bit like the golden child, now wants to share the spotlight on my big day. She wants to walk down the aisle with me, all dressed in white, like it's her wedding too. And guess who's cheering her on from the sidelines? Yep, our dad. He's all for it, encouraging her idea like it's the best thing since sliced bread. So to sum it all up real quick, my sister, who's had a bit of a history of being the favored one, now wants to kind of co-star in my wedding by walking down the aisle in white, and my dad, instead of saying, hey, maybe let's not, is all in, backing her up on this plan. Now on to the next story. Story 4. My spoiled sister is demanding I give up my company and make her the boss because my parents told her she could. So here's the deal. I decided to start my own company. Picture this. Like deciding to build your own castle out of Lego, but about 1,000,000 times tougher and without any instructions. It's been my day in and day out project. I'm talking about staying up until the stars are the only thing keeping me company, waking up when the sun is barely peeping, and practically turning coffee into my bloodstream. This company is pretty much the closest thing I have to a baby dragon. I've raised it myself. Enter the plot twist. My sister. Now, my sister is the kind of person who lives life on easy mode. She's all about that glam life, chilling, and basically the polar opposite of hard work is her middle name. Out of the blue, she decides that she wants to be the big boss of my dragon. My company. Why? Oh, because once upon a time, our folks mentioned she'd get to wear a metaphorical crown and be in charge of something. And guess what? She's decided that my dragon company is her kingdom to be. So imagine we're all sitting around the dinner table, just munching on some food, and out of nowhere, she's like, hey, I'm going to be the queen of your castle. Just like that, she expects me to hand over the keys to the kingdom, my hard-built empire, as if it's no biggie. The audacity is just wow, right? But hold up, it doesn't stop there. She's dead serious, like plotting her royal decree without a clue about ruling or dealing with dragons. She's got these grand plans, but none of them include the actual battles, strategies, or late-night worries that come with keeping a kingdom, or in this case, a company alive and thriving. So there we are, a family divided by a would-be queen and her brother, the actual dragon raiser and castle builder, trying to figure out how a family dinner turned into a boardroom coup. It's a wild ride, my friends, a wild ride indeed. I've basically given my life to build this company. Think of it like trying to win an impossible level on your favorite game. But this isn't a game. It's real, and it's way tougher. Nights without sleep, mornings that start before the sun's up, and so much coffee you'd think I'm running on it. This company is like my baby now. Here's where it gets totally bananas. My sister, who's basically lived her whole life getting everything handed to her on a silver platter, decides she wants to run my company. Yep, you heard that right. And why does she think she can just jump in and take over? Well, our parents, at some point, told her she'd get to be the boss of something, so she set her sights on my company. Of all the things, right? So we're sitting there at dinner, just a regular family dinner, and boom, she drops this wild idea on me. She's expecting me to just hand over everything I've worked insanely hard for. Just like that. It sounds crazy, doesn't it? But hold on, it gets even wilder. She's dead serious about this. She's got all these plans, but none of them include the real work it takes to run a company. Now I'm stuck in a real tough spot. On one side, I want to keep things cool with my family, but on the other, I'm not about to give up my dream. So I come up with this idea, a challenge, kind of like a bet. I tell her if she can actually run the company for a week, then I'll think about her crazy idea. She's all smug, thinking she's got this in the bag. But let me tell you, I've seen her version of hard work, and it's not pretty. The week is a total nightmare. Meetings are missed, clients are ready to walk out, and the team, they're about a second away from quitting. She's way in over her head, and everyone can see it. By the end of this chaos, she's not just ready to give up. She's practically running for the door. But here's the kicker. Our parents never actually promised her anything. They were just hoping she'd learn a lesson about hard work by getting a taste of reality. They wanted to cut down on her sense of entitlement, thinking maybe, just maybe, she'd learn something valuable. And what about me? I got my company back stronger and better than before with a sister who's maybe, just maybe, learned a little bit about what it means to earn your success. It's funny sometimes. The craziest situations teach us the most important lessons. Now on to the next story. Story 5. My shy GF who hates social media has a secret 8-year-old Reddit account where she bullies people daily. She gets upset when downvoted and lies about her appearance to bring others down. I'm 35, and she is 37. So I came home from work today and noticed my partner just sitting at the desk laughing to herself with her headphones on. So I assumed she was watching a movie or something and left it at that. Not long after, I poked my head round as I was going to ask her what she wanted for dinner and, to my surprise, she was on Reddit, which was odd to me because she is anti-social media, etc. But I thought it was nice she was trying something as she suffers from agoraphobia and doesn't get out much without me. I briefly got a glimpse at her name and thought it would be interesting to see what she had posted. Yes, I know this was an invasion of privacy, and to my shock, the account was 8 years old. This means it predated our relationship by a couple of years. What even more shocking was the stuff she had said on there. So much hate towards random people for seemingly no reason at all. This was not just one comment here and there either. Literally just an account dedicated to hating on people, and she seemed proud of it in her comments. One recent example was she spent an entire day just hassling someone. It doesn't even stop there because she will make up stories, fat shame people, bullying those with disabilities. This one hurts as she knows I have autism and claims everyone who tells her she needs help is projecting. I would sometimes come back from work, and she would be in a bad mood but wouldn't tell me why. Upon looking at her comment history, a lot of her bad moods seemed to line up with days she got downvoted a lot. She even goes as far as to lie about her physical appearance just to bring down others. It's sick. How do I even approach this? This stuff is just downright hateful, and I don't want her to freak out at me. What do I even do? I'm scared she is one argument away from someone coming to find her comments. Now for some comments before the update. Mere Otter. This is the person you are dating. This is how she behaves when there are no consequences of her actions. She is not a kind person. Rounders Encore and or Knickers. What do you think about having a partner who secretly likes to be cruel to others and thinks it's funny? Only you can answer that. Successful _ B107. Agreed. And the fact that her entire day/mood can be ruined just because she gets downvotes is concerning and extremely unhealthy. I mean, if you need that level of validation for your self-esteem from internet strangers, I think that some therapy appointments are desperately needed. Especially when coupled with the fact that she's a troll. Like, I feel kind of bad for 2 seconds if I get downvoted when I talk about something personal, but then I have the option of deleting it or ignoring it and going on with my life. If I knew I was writing something controversial, why would the downvotes bother me? So she likes to be deliberately antagonistic, and then the fallout can ruin her mood. So strange. Cobalt May Jen. Catfish her and make her harass you. Then cry at the dinner table over the ableist Redditor who ruined your self-esteem. Hope to find this on Bora in a few weeks. KMF 1107. I find it so pathetic that she's agoraphobic, which implies she has anxiety around social interactions, being humiliated, etc., but she's being cruel to others online, and that definitely affects their anxiety/mental health. This is a shitty person, and I'd cut my losses tbh. Public Pool 99736. Kind of creepy she has kept this a big secret for so long. It is also strange that she is capable of being mean to total strangers and enjoys belittling others without you having a clue. She sounds like she has some unaddressed mental health issues. That old saying, mean people suck, is still true. Update. I had a lot of message requests asking if the post was about them. If you thought that, then I think it's time to stop your crappy behavior. I want to address some comments from the last post. I'm pretty sure she is blocked from this subreddit as all of her comments on this sub were removed according to a remove Reddit site, and I also locked her account while slightly adjusting the ages. After sitting for a good hour last night looking down her profile in depth and bookmarking her worst stuff, I decided to bring it up with her. I was going to ask a mutual friend round, but I didn't want to embarrass her. So instead, I put my phone on record in my pocket in case she was going to claim I did anything against her. I waited until after lunch and asked her if she could just stay there for a minute. I set my phone to record and then brought up screenshots on a tablet. Her face dropped. She walked out of the room after a few seconds of scrolling. I was going to go after her, but I left it. She came down and just said, "Sorry." I asked why she was saying sorry to me, to which she responded, "I don't know." I asked why she did it, and I just got another, "I don't know." I showed her one of the screenshots where she claims my friends love how much of an a-hole I am online, and I asked if any of her friends knew, and she said no, just me. I brought up the fact that I couldn't wrap my head around why someone would dedicate so much time to this, and she said at first it was just a way to blow off steam, but then it felt nice because I saw people were agreeing with me, and it became a part of my daily routine, I guess. After some more talking, I addressed how much she hurt me with her attacks on people with mental health problems, to which she just said, "I doubt they even had any issues. They were just playing victim because they were losing the argument. I have packed my things and going to stay at a friend's house. I am going to block Reddit on the ISP and asked her to not contact me for a couple of days while I think. I've also asked her to find a place to stay as I can't stay at my mate's for too long, and I want to go on a break. If I'm honest, I don't know if I will ever want to see her again. I was going to ask her to apologize to everyone she caused for, but at this point, I know she won't mean it. Any further updates will be done via this post. Comments. Guilty Board 933. The fact that you felt the need to record this conversation on your phone makes me feel like this is not a healthy relationship, regardless of the Reddit trolling. Aor year encore of underscore storms. Judge people by how they treat those they can hurt with impunity. She's an online bully, cruel to people when she is anonymous and there are no consequences. You're making the right decision. Okidoki 654. Yep, your character is how you behave when people aren't looking. I think being anonymous online is the same thing. Now on to the next story. Story 6. My sister is just spoiled rotten. You know how sometimes people do stuff and you're like, wow, they've done everything wild they could, but then they go and do something even crazier? That's what's happening with my sister. Sorry if my words are a bit jumbled. English isn't my first language. So my sister, who's 29, has been pretty much babied by our grandparents her whole life, and believe it or not, it's still causing some drama in our family. She's done a bunch of stuff that has made us go huh over the years, and even though this latest thing might seem small, it's really gotten under my skin. Here's what happened last week. She was chatting with our dad and started complaining about how her basement is a total disaster area, full of stuff she doesn't know how to deal with. Our dad, being the absolute gem that he is, offered to help her clean it all up and even take care of throwing out the junk, which actually cost money to do. I'm guessing that's why my sister and her husband hadn't bothered with it themselves. So get this, my dad ended up spending for whole days, for days cleaning and tossing stuff out of their basement. And we're talking about a basement in an old apartment building, so it's not like it's some massive space. The place was packed with all kinds of junk. Pieces of wood and metal from old furniture, boxes, clothes, and even actual bags of trash. Among all this mess was the first bike my dad had ever bought for my nephew. Over time, my dad has bought him 3 bikes because, kids grow like weeds. So my dad asked my sister and her husband what he should do with this bike. And they're like, oh, take it, do whatever you want with it. The bike was pretty much the only thing that wasn't junk. My dad cleaned it up real nice and even managed to sell it for 50 euros. But then, out of the blue, my sister calls him yesterday, saying it's an emergency and they've run out of money for the month, and it's only the 11th. They got paid on the 1st. I mean, I smell something fishy, but hey, nobody ever asked me what I think. Then the story gets even wilder. My sister brings up the bike, hinting that dad must have made some cash from selling it, and what does my dad do? Without skipping a beat, he hops in his car, heads over to them, and hands over the money. So let's recap. Dad spends 4 days cleaning up their mess for nothing, sells a bike he had to fix up first, which he originally bought for my nephew, and then, without any fuss, gives them the money from the sale. It's nuts because dad isn't rolling in dough. He and mom are just getting by themselves, and here's the kicker. My sister and her husband definitely have more money than my parents do. I mean, I know this might not sound super dramatic, but dealing with this kind of nonsense all the time is super draining. At this point, I'm so fed up that I'm not even wishing them well anymore. Adding to the whole situation, some people might wonder why all of this affects me personally or suggest that I could simply keep my distance and not get involved. But it's not that easy. I see my parents every single day. We work together, share meals together, so whenever my sister causes trouble, it becomes my trouble too because I see the impact it has on my parents. They argue about it, and it's impossible for me not to get caught up in the tension. Ever felt so strongly about someone that just hearing their name gets you all worked up? That's me with my sister. On top of everything else, she was pretty awful to me for years, bullying and mistreating me. Thankfully, my parents caught on pretty quickly and did their best to put a stop to it. But despite their efforts and even going through therapy, I can't shake off these negative feelings towards her. There's a lot to deal with. Story 7. My family thought I wasn't my dad's son, so they completely cut me off. Now they want to get back in touch. I have a bunch of friends on Reddit, so this is a throwaway. I don't think the technical details will matter a lot, so I'll get right down to business. For years ago, Dad found out my mom had a lifelong affair. More than one, but that's another story. He knew about a couple of affairs she had in the past and forgave her, hanging in there for the kids, moving on, blah blah. But that time 4 years ago, he found out me and my 2 siblings might not be his kids. Considering the time of the affair, this was the first time we all heard of Mom's, well, everything really. There was a whole DNA thing, and it turned out my siblings were my dad's, and I was not. Cool, right? So Dad leaves Mom, divorces her, moves out, takes both my siblings with him. Not me though. I stay behind with Mom, who hits a new low, finding herself alone, and we both become pretty much outcasts as far as most of the family is concerned. My older brother was particularly mean to me. We were really tight before, and the things he did to me, I swear, had I been bigger at the time, I would have punched him hard more than once. I don't want to get into details because I can't, since I could be recognized, but stuff happened and I got DNA again. And as it turns out, the DNA number 1 was messed up, and I am my dad's kid. Now I don't need legal advice on this. Grandpa is the man. He always had my back. We got a lawyer and are looking to settle, but Dad wants back in my life. Brother is calling and wanting to meet up and talk. I don't want to. I want these people out of my life. Mom already forgave everyone. She is going on a date with my dad, and I feel sick, but not my business, right? I wish them both good luck, but I want none of it. Only nobody leaves me be. I keep hearing that they're family and I ought to hear them out and give them a chance or I'll regret it later, and that the only reason I won't talk to them is because I'm a teen and stupid or some other shitty explanation. So give me some perspective here, please. Do I sound unreasonable when I say thanks, but no thanks? TLDR. Dad thought I wasn't his kid. Left. Turns out I am his kid, so he wants to be pals again, and I want him gone. Update 1. Thank you all for the advice, but I decided to go with my grandpa, which was kind of the same most of you gave me, and I'll be standing my ground. I've been really annoyed lately because a lot of people around me keep saying I'm a crazy teen and I'll regret it, but Grandpa made a point that I need to stop trying to decide how I'll feel in the future because, truth is, you can never know. You have to make decisions now based on feelings and info you have now, not based on feelings and info you might have later. Right now, I'm disgusted by Dad and brother. I want nothing to do with them. I don't trust them, and I even think there is a chance they might be doing this reaching out just for optics and money. If my feelings change, I will deal with that when they do. Cross the bridge when I get to it and all that. Yeah, I wasn't really going to post an update on this because I don't see the point. My story is kind of over, but something happened yesterday and I wanted to share, so I decided to stand by no, I don't want to talk to them. I'll be moving to another city soon and decided to change my number. Grandpa is the only one who will be having the new one. I asked him not to share and I know he won't. He is a retired cop, so he's really badass and has zero patience for my new number is safe. He called my mom and told her that from now on, if anyone wanted to reach me, they'd have to go through him. So Mom showed up at his place. I've been living with him for a while and tries to talk to me, but Grandpa says she has to talk to him first so he can decide whether she is allowed to talk to me or not. So Mom goes insane and starts telling him that it's none of his business and that this is between me and my dad. So Grandpa goes something like, If anybody shows up at my lawn to disturb the boy, I'll get the cops, a restraining order, and a shotgun. It goes on for a while until Mom says, I'm not the only family Grandpa has, and that by doing this, Grandpa is pushing everyone away and splitting the family. He has other grandchildren. Why is he picking just the one? And so on. So Grandpa laughs and tells her that, through no fault of his, this family blew up long ago, and everyone just grabbed a piece of what was left and ran for it. He looks at me and says, I'm his piece, so I'm not letting go, and I was feeling like laughing up to this point because Mom was going crazy and all. But when he said that, I broke. Mom left after a while and I just hugged my old man like life depended on it, and he just said something like, enough now. No need for that. I'm your family. Family doesn't leave you. Remember that when you have one of your own. I will edit before I forget. Some people were asking about what my siblings were like. Well, my older brother stole things that were mine or supposed to be mine. He lied to me and about me, and not the innocent kid lie, but the kind that ruined relationships I had with friends, family, even a girlfriend I cared about. He was a huge bully for years, even hit me once. Mom said he's going through a lot too, and Dad couldn't care less and just protected him. Grandpa told him if he ever hit me again, he would break brother's teeth in. I guess he believed him because he never touched me after the one time. Younger brother is cool. I'd rather not talk about him here. Another edit. I read the comment section to Grandpa. I had to explain what OG is, and he now wants to watch Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul LOL. But we thank you for all the love. Reading the replies on my first post, he just said, the internet is very smart. Reading the replies on this update, he got a little emotional and left saying he had stuff to do. But he got a beer, came back, and asked if there were more people saying stuff. The comment comparing him to Clint Eastwood made his day. Thanks for the love, guys. Update 2. It is an act of God that I still remember the password to this throwaway. But guys, people, you are not going to believe this. I don't freaking believe this. The lab did make a mistake on my results. What they did is they mixed the results of all children. I am my dad's bio son, but my older brother is not, which is weird because he looks like Dad. Maybe Mom has a type. Turns out it was his lab result stuff, whatever, with my name on it. He will be triple checking it now with another lab, but the settlement has a confidential disclosure clause, something on details, so I will not be speaking about this ever again. See you. It's damn good money, so shush. But I had to share this because LOL. If anybody is keeping score, I now believe in karma. Now on to the next story. Story 8. My sister is severely autistic, and I hate her for turning my life into a living nightmare. I hate her. That should be wrong to say, but it doesn't feel like it. Ever since my sister was born, it's like I vanished from my parents' radar. I was 6, excited to be a big sister, but that excitement faded fast. The shift was gradual but undeniable. Suddenly, I was moving into the basement because she needed to be closer to Mom and Dad. That hurt. The basement was creepy and cold, and I missed the warmth of being near them. Nights down there were long and lonely. I'd hear the rest of the family upstairs and feel so cut off, like I was more of an afterthought than a daughter. Losing my choice to her was another blow. She didn't mean to break them, but it happened all the time. I remember trying to explain to my parents how it made me feel, hoping for a bit of sympathy, maybe even justice, but all I got was, she's younger. She doesn't understand. You're the big sister. You should be more understanding. It felt so unfair. Those toys were my escape, and seeing them broken without anyone caring enough to address it just piled on the feeling of being invisible. The MacBook incident was the last straw. School had given it to me because I'd been doing really well, and then one day it was just destroyed. My school was mad at me for being careless, and my parents, they just added to the blame. No one stopped to consider it wasn't actually my fault. I was furious and hurt, but mostly I felt alone in dealing with the mess. It wasn't just about a laptop. It was about feeling like nobody had my back. Honestly, trying to balance being a sister and having a life is rough. I love my sister, sure, but it's like my parents forget I'm still a kid too. Every time she needs something, I have to drop everything. It doesn't matter if I'm studying, hanging out, or even trying to catch a break. It's like I'm on call 24/7 without even signing up for it. I couldn't remember the last time I hung out with friends without constantly checking my phone, worried I'd miss a call from home needing me to rush back. My life felt like it was on a perpetual pause, always waiting for the next crisis or the next demand for help. The day I decided to go watch the new Spider-Man movie was a big deal for me. It had been ages since I'd made plans that felt purely for my own enjoyment. My friend Jake had been talking about it for weeks, and his excitement was contagious. I needed that break, a couple of hours where I could just be a teenager, not a caretaker. So I made a decision. I figured just this once, I turned my phone off to enjoy the movie, not worry about anything else. Just 2 hours, Walking out of the theater, turning my phone back on, I felt like I was hit by a truck. Missed calls and texts everywhere. I called home immediately, the joy from the movie evaporating with each ring. When my mom picked up, her anger cut through me. "Where have you been? We needed you an hour ago." I could barely get a word in. I rushed home feeling guilty, but also kind of angry. When I got there, it was like walking into a storm. My parents were furious. Their disappointment, a tangible force in the room. "We rely on you, and you just decide to disappear to watch a movie?" My dad's voice was sharp, his words punctuated by my sister's background noises, like going to a movie with some kind of crime. I tried to explain it. I just wanted a break, that I just wanted a couple of hours to myself, but it fell on deaf ears. "It doesn't matter. Your responsibilities here are more important than some movie." My mom added, her words final. They grounded me, said I was being irresponsible all over a movie. Sitting in my room afterward, it hit me. This wasn't about the movie. It was about feeling stuck. Yeah, I get it. My sister needs me, but sometimes I just want to do something normal without feeling guilty or getting into trouble for it. Being 18 and feeling like you're not allowed to have your own life is tough. It was about feeling trapped in a role I never chose, about longing for a piece of normalcy in a life that felt anything but normal. I loved my sister deeply, but in that moment, I couldn't help but feel robbed of the simple teenage experiences of friendships and carefree moments. Living in my house feels like I'm trapped in a loop where everything revolves around my sister and her needs. Don't get me wrong, I get it. She needs a lot of care, and I want to be there for her. But sometimes it feels like I'm just another item on the family's to-do list. Help your sister. Make sure she's okay. Can't you see we're busy with her? It's exhausting, feeling more like an extra hand. It's like I'm invisible unless they need something for her. This feeling of being a slave in my own home, it's suffocating. I carry this weight around, a burden that's made me question my own worth around the house than an actual member of the family. Then there was this one week that felt like it could be different. I had been chosen to give a speech at a school event. Something about that recognition, it lit a spark in me. I worked hard on that speech, pouring my thoughts and feelings into every word. When my parents said they'd be there to watch me, for the first time in a long time, I felt valued. Finally, something about me. I worked on my speech every night, imagining looking into the crowd and seeing my parents there, maybe even catching them smiling proudly. The excitement was like a beacon, a rare light in the usual dimness of my daily life. Like maybe this time things would be different. But they weren't. They missed it because of something with my sister. Once again, they blamed it on my sister. Standing there, about to start my speech and not seeing them, crushed me. I pushed through, voice shaking and hands trembling. I cried not just for the speech, but for all the times I felt sidelined. Yeah, I made it through and people clapped, but it felt empty. The whole walk home, I couldn't stop the tears. It's not like I wanted to make a big deal about them missing the speech, but it just hit hard. It felt like a reminder that no matter what happens with me, it will always be secondary. And walking home, all I could think was how this pattern seems like it's never going to end. Talking about colleges with my dad was something I've been looking forward to. Started off pretty normal. I was actually excited, for once. It felt like we were focusing on my future, on something that was about me. I was getting into the idea, thinking maybe college was my chance to get out and do my own thing, away from all the chaos at home. We were looking at some brochures talking majors and campuses. It was the closest to dreaming I'd gotten in a long time. Then my dad made that joke. Something about picking a high-paying major so I'd be set to take care of my sister when they're gone. He laughed, thinking it was just a light-hearted comment, I guess, but it hit me hard. All my bottled-up feelings just exploded. I lost it. I couldn't hold it in anymore. I started crying, then yelling, telling him how unfair it was that my entire life was expected to revolve around being my sister's caretaker. It was all coming out, every bit of resentment, every moment of feeling overlooked and undervalued, trying to make him see how much I've had to give up, how everything always circles back to what my sister needs. But they didn't get it. My parents just stood there, staring at me like I was speaking another language, watching me lose it. No comfort, no apologies, nothing. Their faces were so cold, so detached. It was like they couldn't understand why I was so upset over a joke. That's when I realized they weren't going to hear me out. I ran to my room, slammed the door, and I've been here ever since. And here's the thing. I've been in there for hours, and they haven't even bothered to check on me. Not a knock, not a word, nothing. It's like my outburst didn't matter to them. It's so lonely, sitting here knowing that even this, me being this upset, isn't enough to get them to see how much I'm hurting. It's like I'm trapped in this role they've set for me, and my feelings about it don't matter at all. Am I wrong for wanting more than this, for wanting to be seen as more than just a future caretaker for my sister? It just feels like no matter what I do, it's like my life doesn't matter. I am nothing to them, nothing more than just an insurance for my sister after they are gone. After hours turned into a day, and then another with no word from my parents, something in me clicked. I couldn't shake off the feeling that something had to change. It wasn't just about getting away for a bit. It was about needing some space to figure out my own stuff without always being pulled back into the same old situation. I thought of the one person who'd always seemed to get it, Grandpa. Without making a big plan, I just packed some essentials into a backpack one night and left. I texted him I was coming over, half expecting him to talk me out of it or to call my parents. But he didn't. He just texted back, doors open. Staying with Grandpa has been eye-opening. It's not like every moment has been some deep heart-to-heart, but it's just calm here. He lets me be. We've talked about college, about what I might want to do, and it's the first time in a while I've been able to think about my future without feeling guilty or stressed. He's been supportive, encouraging me to think about what I want, not what I feel obligated to do. It's weird, but in just a week here, I felt more like myself than I have in years. We've had meals together, watched some old movies, and he shared stories about when he was my age. It's been nice, simple, and kind of freeing. I've even started researching colleges again, this time looking at programs I'm actually interested in, not just ones that might make enough money to take care of my sister in the future. Being with Grandpa has given me a glimpse of what that might look like, and it's something I want to hold on to. Wow. Thank you for all the support and love that you guys have given me. I never expected this post to reach the popularity it did. Thank you all. After thinking about it for these past few hours, you are right that I don't despise my sister. It's not her fault that she was born the way she is. My parents came to talk to me a while after my breakdown, but I was unable to bring myself to talk to them and only cried and asked them to leave. They have made arrangements with my grandfather for me to stay with him for the time being. My parents want to talk to me, but we have decided it's best I leave for now to have some space and time to collect myself. We will be sitting down and talking later this week about this issue. Thank you all again for the love and support through this. I started by telling my grandpa the story of why I broke down the way I did, and to be honest, when I finally spilled everything to Grandpa, his reaction was way more intense than I expected. I mean, I knew he'd be surprised, but he looked downright shocked, horrified. I told him all about how things have been at home, how I've basically been my sister's full-time caregiver on top of everything else, and how it all came crashing down that day with my dad's joke about college and taking care of her forever. Grandpa was seriously upset, especially when he found out that my sister was supposed to have professional help that she wasn't getting. He said a lot of stuff. He told me some things that I don't feel comfortable repeating here, but in essence, my sister is supposed to be getting care from a professional, and that my parents were ignoring that. But the gist was that it wasn't right or safe for me to be in that position, especially with how things were with my sister. He couldn't believe my parents were putting all this on me and that they'd kept so much from the rest of the family. He was also really mad about the whole movie incident, saying it was the last straw that showed how unfairly I was being treated. Grandpa was pretty chill most of the time, so seeing him this mad was kind of a big deal. He told me straight up not to talk to my parents unless he was there, which was a relief, honestly. He said he'd talk to them first, sort everything out, and be there with me for any conversations in the future. But it wasn't just Grandpa. Over the next few days, I heard from aunts, uncles, cousins, you name it. They were all checking in, making sure I was okay, and they were all just as shocked as Grandpa was. Turns out my parents had been telling everyone they had a professional caregiver for my sister and even taking money from the family to pay for it, except that caregiver never existed. Everyone was pretty upset about being lied to, especially about something so serious. This past week, man, it's been a roller coaster. Tough, yeah, but also kind of eye-opening in a good way. The whole drama with my parents and finding out all that stuff I had no idea about was a lot to handle. But then there's been this unexpected silver lining. My extended family stepping up in ways I didn't even know I needed. Grandpa has been at the center of it all, trying to make up for what he keeps calling lost time. He's been really pushing me to just be a teenager again. It's weird, but nice, getting nudged to hang out with my friends more or just chill and do whatever I feel like. Stuff I haven't really done in, well, forever. It's like he's on this mission to help me reclaim parts of my life I didn't even realize I was missing out on. And it's not just him. My aunts and uncles have been amazing too. They've been around a lot this week, checking in, bringing over food, just talking and actually listening. It's like they're making this massive effort to show they care, to make sure I don't feel alone in this whole mess. It's pretty overwhelming, but in the best way possible. For the first time in what feels like ages, I'm not just the sister or the caretaker. I'm just me, and that feels really good. The talk with my parents on Saturday night, disaster doesn't even cover it. I went in hoping maybe, just maybe, we could start fixing things. Instead, it fell apart even more. They actually admitted to a bunch of stuff so messed up I can't even bring myself to type it out here. But the kicker, not a single sorry came out of their mouths. Instead, they doubled down, saying I was pretty much born to be my sister's caretaker. Yeah, my dad actually said that, like, my whole purpose was just about taking care of her. I couldn't keep it together. All the stuff I found out, all the support I've been getting from the rest of the family, it all just bubbled up. I called them out on everything, the lies about the caretaker, the money they were supposedly spending on it, but actually weren't, all of it. But they just dodged and made excuses. By the end of the talk, things were even worse than before. Felt like hitting a brick wall trying to get through to them. I'd gone into that conversation with a sliver of hope that we could mend things, but I walked out feeling like that chance was completely torched. So after that disaster talk with my parents, I made up my mind. I'm done. Had a long chat with Grandpa and my uncle last night, and we all agreed it's best if I don't go back. Today's the day I'm officially moving out to live with Grandpa. It feels weird, making this huge change, but it also feels right, like I finally have some control over my life again. I've also decided I'm leaving the state for college once I'm done with high school. Just the thought of starting fresh somewhere new is kind of thrilling. My aunt, she's been incredible through all this. She told me she's going to start sending the money directly to me, the money she used to give to my dad for my sister care. Guess it's going to be my college fund now. My parents, they've called a couple of times since that night, but if you're thinking they called to say sorry or that they missed me, nope. They just wanted to know when I was planning to come back home. It's like they're not even trying to understand why I had to leave. I know this is going to be a huge change, and honestly, I'm kind of scared, but at the same time, I feel this weight lifting off me. I'm finally making decisions for myself, and there's something really freeing about that. Today is just the start of something new, I guess. Deciding not to go back to my parents was tough, not gonna lie. There's this uneasy feeling sitting in my stomach, but deep down, I think it'll fade with time. The support I've been getting from the rest of my family has been unreal. It's weird. Even though I've made this big decision, feeling all their love and support makes the whole situation a bit easier to handle. But yeah, the harsh truth, I've pretty much lost my parents through all this. That realization hits hard. It's a lot to process, and sometimes I catch myself wishing things could have been different. But through all the mess, I've come to see something really important. I don't hate my sister. That anger I thought I felt towards her was misplaced. She's not the one to blame for how our parents chose to handle things. I love her more than I can say, and hating her for something she had no control over was wrong on so many levels. I hope someday I can make that right. For now, though, leaving is what I need to do for myself. It's about finding my own way, figuring out who I am outside of this whole situation. It's going to be a journey, but I'm ready for it. Edit. Thank you all so much. I wish I could respond to every single one of you, but my lunch only lasts so long. I'll update tonight how the move out went, but until then, thank you all. I want to say that your support has been amazing, and your kindness means more to me than anyone could ever imagine. Moving out was surreal. Grandpa and my uncle were with me every step of the way, helping me pack up my life into boxes and bags. Everything that meant something to me. We make sure to grab all the important stuff, my birth certificate and social security card. It felt weirdly official, like I was collecting pieces of my old life to start a new one. My parents, they were pretty much silent the whole time. Dad took off with my sister not long after I got there, leaving just my mom to watch us pack. She didn't say much, just hovered in the background. It was awkward, tense, even. But then, as we were about to leave, she finally broke down. She said she loved me, that she'd missed me. After days of silence, those words hit differently. I hugged her, said goodbye. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done. Sitting in my new room at Grandpa's house, I keep replaying that moment. Did she mean what she said after everything? It's hard to know for sure, but I want to believe she did. Right now, all I can do is focus on what's ahead. Maybe with time, my parents and I can find a way back to each other. Now on to the next story. Story 9. What's the craziest thing you've ever seen happen at Walmart? I saw a dwarf security guard take a flying leap into and beat the living crap out of a 60-year-old black man in a Hawaiian shirt who was trying to steal about $600 worth of steak. The steak guy, he did this once a month or so. He would just fill up a shopping cart with steaks, briskets, pork ribs, etc., head up to the front, act like he was going to check out, then barrel through the exit doors and dump it into a waiting truck. They never got a clear plate and were trying to catch him in the act. I was working my counter and heard behind me, "Sir, don't do it. Just step away from the cart." Walmart security is plain clothes and has no legal authority. They can detain you and defend themselves, but they can't restrain you. You can leave whenever you want. I turn around, and I see this guy with the shopping cart full of steaks. He's starting to stammer and come up with excuses while simultaneously trying to play it off. "Sir, just come with us, please. Let go of the cart, sir." The guard trying to get him calm was the head of security there. He was a chill guy in his 30s, but built like a brick. You might think he was chubby if you looked at him. You wouldn't dream he could bench like 340+ pounds. The steak guy, he makes his break. He tries to blow past Chubb's muscles, and they end up going into a stack of DVDs. Then came Eric. Eric was I'm honestly not sure he would qualify as a dwarf, perhaps just a guy with a growing disability. He was about 4 feet tall max. He would look like a 12-year-old except for the fact that he was completely yoked. He was one of those just itching for action type guys. He seemed like he had something to prove. So Muscle Chub and Steak Guy are now down in the DVDs and Steak Guy goes to get up and here comes Eric. I'm probably wrong, but I swear in my mind I heard Nia, and the little guy leapt through the air, both feet out and just cannonballed this guy in the chest, feet first. He went down again. I heard Chubb yell, "Eric, no," as he scrambled onto the guy's chest and just started throwing little hands into this dude's face. Just wham, 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 wham. This is not what they teach you to do in Walmart security loss prevention. I think is the official department. Eric was fired pretty much immediately. Walmart got sued, and they'd have been better off just letting the guy run out with the steaks. But boy, what a show. Edit, a little epilogue. I just found out Eric's actual name was Josh. I couldn't remember it, made one up, and he's a sex offender who was recently arrested for going to an elementary school as an elf with sex offender status. Life is weird. Now on to the next story. Story 10. Mom and sis tried to cut off the old hag after my dad passed away, but she chose me to inherit the family business instead of them. Now they are furious and are begging me to help. Hi, so I am 17F and I'm currently living with my grandmother 70F because of a really bad situation that I'm in with my mother 47F and sister 19F. My father recently passed away after a long battle with osteosarcoma, and 6 months ago he succumbed to his disease. It wasn't anything unexpected. We had seen this coming and were prepared for it. Nevertheless, it still hurts. You don't ever feel okay about losing a parent. I don't think I ever will feel fine about it, but I'm dealing with it. The only consolation that I have is that he is in a better place now and is not suffering anymore like he had been for the past 4 years. My mother was really upset about it for the first couple of weeks, but this time she is getting over it, and I'm happy for her. This is the same case with my sister, but I think I'm the one who is taking it the hardest. He was my favorite person in the world, and it still feels weird that he's not going to be around anymore. The past 6 months have been really upsetting for me in my personal life, but I have had to go on since I'm in my senior year of high school, and I have also started applying to colleges and stuff, so things are pretty stressful for me right now, and I don't have the time to sit and grieve. I'll do it once I get into my choice, the one that my father had wanted me to go to. I'm working really hard for it, so I have my fingers crossed. Anyway, this is more about my grandmother, so I'll get to that now. For context, my father was very close to his mother, and I'm also pretty close to my grandma. However, that's not the case with my mom and my sister. My mother has never really gotten along well with my grandmother for reasons that I don't know, and my sister is pretty much a second version of my mother, so she does not get along with my grandma either and doesn't seem to like her much. I have kept in touch with my grandma, but after the funeral, my mother did not bother to check up on my grandma. It was just me who seemed to care about her. I had believed that the strategy would bring the family closer together, but that did not happen. My father's death pretty much gave my mother and my sister an excuse never to speak to my grandma again, and they cut her out of their lives. I don't know why they did that or why they did not like her because, as far as I was concerned, she had always been very nice to us and our family. She had always been nice to my mom and my sister as well, even though they never bothered to hide their disdain for her. Even when they would be visiting her house, they would act really weird and arrogant and make it awkward for everybody else as well. My parents had thought about it many times, but after one point, my father had just given up because he knew that he could not change this. I know that there must have been some reason behind this behavior, but nobody ever told me anything about it, and I did not feel brave enough to ask my mother why she did not like my grandma. But my grandma to me is really nice and I love her. She's also a really inspirational woman, and I am proud to be her granddaughter. 6 months have passed since my father's death, and I have kept in touch with her, and I'm the only one who has. Since my mother doesn't speak to her, neither does my sister, and the rest of the family got really busy after a couple of weeks. Besides, she could not expect them to drop everything for her and be there for her emotionally all the time either since they were not our immediate family. But we had been there for each other, and I would visit her every weekend up until a couple of weeks ago since that's when my finals started. They got over last week, and coincidentally, my sister also came back home for college after her finals a couple of days after that. So since everybody was at home, my grandmother invited us all over to her place for a weekend stay, and I was in, obviously. I tried to convince my mother and my sister to give it a chance, but what they said to me, can I try to convince them, that really put me off, and I still haven't been able to get it out of my head because it was just so disgusting. I was trying to tell my mom that it would be fine and that we should try to spend some more time as a family since that's what my father would have wanted. And my mother got really annoyed and told me that if I wanted to have a relationship with my grandma, I was free to do so. But now that my father was gone, she had no incentive to still keep in touch with that old hag and was cutting her off on purpose. And my sister seemed to agree with that sentiment as well. I thought that it was really disrespectful and mean to say because my grandma had always been nice to the two of them, and it was they who had gone out of their way to be rude to her in her own home. Regardless of that, she would still invite them to every event over and over again. I don't think she was asking for much. It was just one weekend, and they did not have much going on either. It wouldn't cost anything to give it a chance and just be nice, but that's what they had to say about it. So, as usual, I went alone to visit my grandmother, and she seemed kind of upset by the fact that my mother and my sister had not bothered to show up, but I think she expected it. But something happened that I absolutely had not been expecting, and that was that she told me she had invited all three of us and not just me because she had an important thing to tell us. So she told me that now that my father was gone, she had to think of somebody to take over the company. My father had been working from home when things got too bad and he got too sick to go out, But for the last couple of months, we had no idea how things were going at the company because we were so busy getting worried about my father's health. We barely had any time to worry about any of that. We had just assumed that he had somebody taking care of things and somebody was keeping it going when he was not around. And if not that, we knew that my grandmother would handle it, so we did not worry about that. It's a family business, and we mainly deal in electronics. We are retailers and not manufacturers. My great-grandfather started it, and then it has been continued by my grandfather and then my father. But my sister is still in college, and I haven't even graduated from high school yet, so obviously neither of us could take over yet. The only person who was qualified to take over would be my mother. She works in a bank right now, but I think she would have done a good job here as well. However, since she hadn't even bothered to show up for that weekend stay at my grandmother's place, she had been disqualified anyway, and she wasn't even going to count my sister in since she was underage and, like I said, a miniature version of my mother. That just left me. But I was not even 18 yet, and even then, I had a long way to go before I was ready to take over such a huge responsibility. But eventually, she told me that she was going to leave the company to me for now. She was running it with my granduncle, my grandma's cousin, but even he was getting old and could not take the responsibility for long. He was already in his mid-60s and had been planning to retire, but then my dad got diagnosed and he had to put everything off. The best he could do was a couple more years, but after that, he would be out. My grandmother desperately wanted to keep the business within the family, so she asked me if I would be willing to take on the opportunity. She told me that she knew I had been planning to go to business school anyway since, in the long run, I had been planning to take over the company after my father. I just hadn't expected him to go away so soon. That had never been part of the plan. But yes, I did want to run the company, so she asked me if I would be up for the challenge, and I didn't even have to think twice before I said yes. Then she told me that, for the next couple of years, she would take care of everything and would start grooming me to take over after I graduated. I won't even have to worry about my college tuition since my grandmother has promised me that she's going to take care of all of it. After I had accepted it, the first thing that she did was tell my granduncle that I was going to take over, and he just had to wait it out for a couple more years. But once I was done with business school, I would be taking over. They would supervise me for a couple of years, but once I had proved my mettle, I would be on my own, and I had faith in myself. I know that I can do this. I'm very confident about it, so I did not feel the need to hesitate or think twice about this decision. Now I think where things went wrong was when I decided to call my mother up and tell her about this. I did not actually intend to gloat. I just wanted to let them know that they had made a mistake by rejecting my grandma and her invitation. I wanted them to know that their arrogance was taking them down. When I told my mom about it, she refused to believe me at first, but then I told her that I was serious, and then she started yelling at me and said that I had no right to gloat like this and it was pretty petty of me to do so. I tried to tell her I was not trying to gloat. I was just trying to tell her that if she had been kinder, then this golden opportunity would have come to her instead, or maybe my sister since she was also a finance major and would have had a job ready and waiting for her after she graduated. But now that seems unlikely since my grandma has made up her mind and is pretty upset about the way that she was snuffed. When I had shown up alone at her house, my grandma had been pretty disappointed, and after we had our little discussion and I accepted her offer, she told me that now she had no incentive to keep in touch with my mother either. She told me that for so many years, she had put up with her arrogant behavior purely out of love for my father, but after her son's death, my mother had not bothered to check up on her even once, not even as an obligation. That day was the limit and peak of her arrogance, so she did not feel the need to keep in touch or invite her over for anything ever again, and I could understand where she was coming from. I had seen the way that my mother and my sister behaved around her, and if I was in her place, I don't think I would have been able to keep my calm for that long. So I personally don't think that I did anything wrong by telling my mother that if she had been kinder, this opportunity could have been hers, but they had just cost themselves an opportunity to rise because of their terrible arrogance and attitude problems. I was supposed to go back 2 days after that once the weekend was over, but it's been 1 week, and I'm still here. And that's because the day after my phone call to my mother, she and my sister showed up at my grandmother's place with tears in their eyes, begging for forgiveness. I'm not even exaggerating right now. That's exactly how they showed up. We were both pretty surprised to see them here. Then my mother told my grandma that if she had known that this is the reason why she had been inviting them, she wouldn't have rejected her and declined the invitation. I can tell you that was really the wrong thing to say. She probably should have started off by apologizing for her behavior for the past couple of months in all her life, since she has never behaved nicely with my grandma. But instead of apologizing, she made it very obvious to my grandmother that the only reason she was here was not because she was genuinely and truly sorry about declining her invitation and behaving badly with her, but just because of the position and the family business that she so badly wanted to be part of. It was disgustingly obvious what she was trying to do, and my grandma was not going to tolerate that BS. So she cut her off in the middle of her rant and told her that she could go home because she was genuinely just not interested in anything that my mother had to say. Since there was no apology, no explanation for her behavior, she had no interest in entertaining this kind of crap either. My grandma really let her have it and told her that she was acting pathetic, and it was not surprising to her either, since this is exactly the kind of behavior that she had expected from her. She told her that she had put up with her arrogant behavior for years on end just because of her son, and had even tried to give her a chance at redemption by inviting her that weekend because she knew that my father would have wanted it. But my mother had proven to her that she was not worthy of a second chance, and so she would go back home and cry in her house instead of wasting our time. And then she shut the door on her face. I was really proud of my grandmother, and I thought that she did the right thing by standing up for herself. Throughout their conversation, I had been standing in the room, but I did not intervene, not even when my mother had the door slammed in her face. The reason that I did not intervene was very simple. I did not think that there was anything wrong that was going on, so I did not feel the need to stand up for my mother. But after that, my mother and sister started blaming me for all of this and thinking that I should have stood up for them. We have been arguing about it back and forth for a couple of days now, and I haven't been able to go back home, even though I need to bring a lot of things over from their place to mine, since now I've decided that I'm going to continue living with my grandmother. But they think that I am being unfair and selfish and just keep fighting with me. They believe that now that I know that my future is sorted out, I'm going to abandon them, and they think that I am showing my true colors now. It's so frustrating. I don't even know how to feel about any of this. Aita, for not going back home to my mother and sister after my grandma told me that I was going to inherit the family business. Update 1. Hi, according to you guys, I should have cut my mother and sister off and not make that phone call in the first place. I kind of agree with you guys. That would have saved me a lot of trouble. But anyway, I can still do that now, and I'm doing that. It's been really getting into my head the way that they have been acting, since they are the only family apart from my grandmother that I have left. So I was still trying to keep in touch and make things right with them. But I don't think I can make it work because they are making sure that I feel guilty about things that I'm not even responsible for. I have blocked them so they cannot call me or text me anymore. I'm just done with both of them. They had the chance to fix everything, but they did not do so, neither with my grandmother nor with me, and that's fine. I think that now they should really just face the consequences of their own behavior and actions instead of trying to blame it on me. I know that I'm not the one at fault in this situation, no matter how hard they try to convince themselves. They can't convince me of it anymore. I'm out of that house, and I'm sure that my father wouldn't have wanted this to happen either. But it is what it is. Update 2. So I blocked my mother and my sister a couple of days ago, and just as I had expected, they really did not like that. I knew that they wouldn't approve of my behavior either, but I had to do it. They were really getting on my nerves. They just kept fighting with me even when I was being nice to them, so how could I not block them? I didn't have any other option. Anyway, I think they found out that I blocked them yesterday, and there was a huge uproar from their end over this. They were very upset about it, and since they couldn't express it to me through calls or texts since they were blocked, they chose to make a post about it. I don't know what they were hoping to achieve with that post, but it was really annoying because they are going overboard and painting themselves as the victims here when literally everybody knows that they are definitely not the victims. They even accused me of something that I couldn't even have imagined, even if I had wanted to do that to them, because they did not have anything else to use against me. They had to just come up with a theory and run along with it, pretending that it was true. They posted the entire story of what had happened and how they came about to be blocked, but obviously, they painted me to be the villain and them themselves to be the victim and put everything in such a way that people would consider me the bad guy. They accused me of keeping the purpose of my visit to my grandmother's secret on purpose, so that they would decline the invitation and lose this golden opportunity. They said that apparently, I knew exactly why my grandmother had invited the three of us to her house, but I knew that they would not accept the invitation if I did not tell them why she had invited us. My mother did not have a good relationship with my grandma, and I used it to my advantage to hog this opportunity for myself and further ruin her relationship with her mother-in-law. All of that is a blatant lie, and I think that people reading this know the truth. So far, I don't know what people are feeling about it because I haven't been able to read the comments on that post. I even know about that post because one of my relatives sent it to me and asked me what was going on. I don't know what I'm supposed to do now. I want to tell them to take it down, but for that, I will have to unblock them first. I haven't even talked to my grandma about it because she's already pretty upset after the passing of her son, and I don't want to create more trouble for her. So I've been dealing with all of this on my own for now. I don't want to make her even more sad and disturbed than she already is with these petty fights. Update 3. Hi, I spoke to a couple of my friends about this, and they said that I should confront my mom and my sister. So that's what I did. I unblocked them, and I asked them what that post even for since I was not even trying to fight with them, but they kept spreading lies about me, and it was really getting on my nerves. My sister did not reply to me, but my mother got back to me saying that she had to do this because she knew that there was at least some truth in what she was saying, and people needed to know how I really was as a person since I constantly pretended to be nice and sweet. But in reality, that's not the truth, and I am as far from sweet as can be as I stole a future from them. I really lost my cool at that point because her behavior was completely unreasonable, and I think she was the one who had major issues, not me. I really am as sweet as I behave, but she just keeps pushing me, and I'm not going to take that. So I told her, or rather yelled at her, and said that I had already lost a father, and I was not scared of losing another parent. I told her that she had screwed her life up with her bad attitude. She couldn't just blame it on me and pretend that that was the reality of the situation. She was the one who had always had issues with my grandma, and that's why she had rejected the invitation. I even jogged her memory and reminded her of the exact words that she had used and told her that she was the one who had called my grandma an old hag and had said that now that my father was gone, she did not want to keep in touch with her anymore. So I don't think any of this was my fault. I really didn't know why my grandma had invited the three of us for a weekend stay, but if I had known about the purpose of the visit, I would have told them about it so they could have had a fair chance. But honestly, I really am glad that they didn't get that opportunity at all because they don't deserve it. They have no respect for the people in their lives and take everything for granted, so I think this should be a good lesson for them. Even while I was telling her all of this, she kept trying to interrupt me and fight with me, and that was agitating me even more. So she kept saying things, and I kept yelling at her in return, and the situation only kept getting worse. And I think at some point, I must have gotten loud enough for my grandma to hear, so she came into my room to check out what was going on. And when she saw me arguing on the phone with my mom, she decided to grab the phone and hang up. She told me not to waste my energy speaking to her and then left the room, which I think was a good call because I was getting really upset, and it was completely unnecessary. I can't change her. I can't force her to see my point of view and consider it. She's just going to be the same narcissistic person who only cares about herself, and I can't do anything about it. It's pointless for me to waste my energy arguing with her. So now I'm just trying to calm down and deal with my emotions right now. Update 4. Okay, a lot of you were asking me exactly why my mother and my grandma don't get along, or rather why my mother doesn't like my grandma, and I honestly didn't know. I didn't have an answer to that, so I've been avoiding those questions. But today, I finally decided to find out because I think it's about time that I get to know about these things. They definitely do concern me, and I am part of the family. I deserve to know. Obviously, I couldn't ask my mother about it, not after the fight we had on the phone call today. So I decided to ask the only other person who would have an inkling as to why this was the case. So I approached my grandmother, and I asked her very straightforwardly why my mother didn't get along with her. She seemed a little taken aback by that question, probably because she hadn't seen it coming after so long, but she did not shy away from telling me the truth, and I finally have an answer to your questions now. So apparently, before my parents got married, my mother had been talking about quitting her job so she could be a stay-at-home wife. My grandmother had put her foot down and said that she was not going to allow that to happen because of a couple of reasons. The first one is the most practical reason that my dad already had a full-time housekeeper working for him from before he had even started dating my mom, so there was no point in her staying at home and doing nothing. The second reason was that she knew that if my mother decided to stay at home for a while, she would just never end up going back to work, and that would mean that she would be relying on my dad's income for the rest of the duration of their marriage. She could not let that happen because that would just mean that my mom was marrying my dad for his money. This is why she put her foot down, and my grandma told my dad that she would not allow her daughter-in-law to sit at home and do nothing. She had to be a woman, and if my mother still chose to get married to my dad, then she would know for sure that my mother was not just with my dad for the money. Luckily, my mother did marry my dad in spite of the fact that she would not be allowed to quit her job like she had wanted to. My grandma was pleased with what had happened, but since then, my mother hasn't liked my grandma because she doubted her character. I honestly don't know how to feel about this. I do think that it might have been insulting for my mother to have somebody cast aspersions on how much she loved my father and the reason why she was with him. But then I also can't blame my grandma for doubting her intention since they belong to a pretty financially well-off family. So I'm kind of torn between the two of them, but well, it is what it is because I honestly don't know who's right and who is wrong. But I know that right now my grandma is the best for me, so that's all I have to say about this. Update 5. Hey, so it has been a couple of weeks since I last spoke to my mother. We had that really bad fight on the phone, and we have not spoken to each other since. From what I know, she has taken down the post that she had made, and along with that, she has also taken down any other photos that she had of me on all of her social media accounts. She's basically pretending that she has only one daughter, and it's hurtful, but I have to deal with it. This is the way that I have chosen for myself, and I'm going to stick to it. I also got accepted into the business school that I had applied to, the one that my dad wanted me to get into, and I can't tell you how happy I am about it. I can't put it into words really. When I read that accept email, I thought I screamed loud enough for the state to hear me. My grandmother is thrilled, but not more than me. I'm not just happy that I'm going to such a great institution, but mostly I'm also happy that I was able to live up to the promise that I had made to my father. I have been studying really hard for the past couple of months. It feels like all my hard work has paid off, and it will continue to pay off in the years when I take over my father's business and do what he had meant for me to do. Now on to the next story. Story 11. My brother and his wife had an accident at their place, which is kind of an unusual and somewhat bizarre incident. His wife, perhaps not thinking clearly, put some silverware in the microwave, which, as you might guess, led to a pretty serious fire. Their house was badly damaged, and they found themselves in immediate need of a place to stay. Naturally, wanting to help out family in a crisis, I offered them a place to stay with us temporarily. When they moved in, I was keen on keeping the peace at home, especially with 2 kids in the house, so I set some basic rules. Clean up after yourselves and respect my parenting choices. These rules seem straightforward enough, but I was particularly concerned about how my sister-in-law would handle them. She's had a history of being quite opinionated and somewhat intrusive, especially about things that really shouldn't concern her. Fast forward to yesterday. It was supposed to be just another day. I went to work, and my kids went to school, except for my son who wasn't feeling well and stayed home. My sister-in-law was the only other person home that day, as she currently doesn't have a job. Now, my son, who is in high school, prefers to keep his hair long. He's comfortable with his style, and it's never been a problem at school or anywhere else. Despite this, my sister-in-law has repeatedly made unnecessary comments about his hair, claiming it makes him look like a girl and suggesting that he should cut it. These comments have always been unwelcome and ignored, but what happened next was completely out of line. Without any consent and while my son was asleep, presumably taking advantage of the fact that she was alone with him, she took it upon herself to cut his hair. Yes, she actually cut his hair while he was sleeping. You can imagine his shock and devastation when he woke up. When I came home and he told me what happened, I was beyond furious. It was such a breach of trust and respect. I confronted my sister-in-law immediately. She defended her actions by claiming she was doing him a favor, asserting that kids would tease him for his long hair, despite the fact that nothing like that has ever happened. Her justifications fell on deaf ears. I was too upset by her audacity and the upset she caused my son. I told her she had 1 week to find another place to stay because her behavior was unacceptable. I informed my brother of the situation and made it clear that while he was welcome to stay, his wife needed to leave. Most of our family agreed with my decision and supported it, recognizing the seriousness of the breach of boundaries. However, my mom and the sister-in-law herself saw things differently. They argued that I was being too harsh and unfair, even calling me an idiot for making her leave. Despite the backlash from some family members, I stood firm on my decision. The safety and emotional well-being of my children are my top priorities, and allowing someone to remain in our home who undermines that is not an option. The situation has certainly caused some tension and division within the family, but I believe in maintaining a home environment where everyone feels safe and respected. Now, having some time to reflect on everything and still feeling the weight of the fallout, I find myself questioning if I handled the situation in the best way. Was I too impulsive in my decision-making? Should I have approached the resolution differently? I'm reaching out to share this story, hoping to gain some perspective from others who might have faced similar family dilemmas, or who can offer advice on handling such intense family conflicts. Thanks for listening to this detailed account. Any insights or advice would be greatly appreciated as I navigate through these challenging family dynamics. So, am I the idiot? Update. I didn't call the cops before because I didn't think I could press charges since I had no proof. I called the cops an hour after I posted, after seeing so many people say that I should. It took the police about 30 minutes to arrive. She told the police that she cut his hair because she didn't think it was illegal. I set home from work today to keep an eye on my son, so he and I are the only ones who know. She got arrested. At the moment, I don't think she knew she put silverware in the microwave, but then again, she didn't think she committed a crime, so maybe she thought it would be fine. We have reached the end. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and give us your thoughts about the stories in the comments section. Thank you and see you in the next video.